All right, well, welcome again to the Weight Connection seminar. I am very, very excited because I'm going to introduce to you a hormone in this presentation, a hormone that most of you most probably haven't heard of. I was in Spain a few months back, and a local television was doing an interview to add it into their news section. And a young lady that was asking the questions, asked me what I was going to talk about, and I told her about this hormone, and I said to her, "Have you heard of her? Have you heard of it?" And she goes, "Oh yes, because nobody wants to look stupid, right?" And she goes, "I did biology when I was at high school." So, great. And so you know where that hormone comes from and where it's secreted, and yes. I said, where about? I said, was it the liver? I said, no. I said, that's the thyroid hormone, isn't it? I said, no. So she didn't know. So if you don't know, when I ask you, just raise your hand, okay? That just places you among the 98% of the people in this world that doesn't know anything about this hormone. If you know about it, for sure, raise your hand too, okay? So this is the first section of Weight the Hormones. Section 1, okay? Again, these Weight Connection seminars are designed to share valuable information with the general public. They are not to be used as a treatment for individual cases. Consult with your health professional. Now, hormones determine your body shape. Depending on as we spoke in the previous presentation with those three different body types that we presented before you, one was thyroid dominant, the other one was pancreas dominant, the other one was adrenal dominant, and some of the subcategories of those are also dependent on hormones. Okay? Your hormone will actually change your body shape. You have young people that come to see me, and they are very thin around here, and then they have a little bit of curve around here, and they want to bulk up. They want to just have a much better body. And they go to the gym, and they're working out like there's no tomorrow. They're working out. At the same time, there's one guy all fluffed up like that, looking himself at the mirror, just like this. And this young fella is wondering, how is it that I'm working out so hard? This guy is just looking himself in the mirror. Look how he is and look how I am. And that is frustrating. You have a lot of people in the gym that are not losing body fat, others are not actually gaining muscle, and all because the way in which their hormones are being regulated and they regulate their metabolism and they affect their body shape. Okay? Now, these two know about hormones. Okay? They are monkeys. They are part of an experiment. The one on your left is 26 years of age. I don't know if he's dead now, but he was when the photo was taken, 26. The one on the right just turned 27. They're basically the same generation. They're 26 and 27. They're basically the same age. So for that type of monkey, that is elderly. The very old monkeys now, elderly. All right? Now, as you look at the photo, you actually start noticing a little bit of a difference. One has a face like a wise man, contemplative, the type of grandfather that you want to go and hear about the stories and the lessons of life. The other one has the type of grandfather image that you don't want to leave your children with, because it bites barks and bites. You know, it's like, take those children out of here, right? So that's the one on the right. Can you see, like, the guy is upset. He's actually, it doesn't have a good day, does he? The posture is different. He walks nice and straight, you know, and he's nice and tall. The one on the right on your screen is just showing signs of what? Of age. Now, how is it that he's showing signs of age when both of them are the same age? There's something else. Now, interesting, the one on your left, maintain almost the same body percentage of fat as when he was a youngster. Can you see? Can you see the lean muscle? Can you see the other one? The much more floppy type of monkey. Okay? Now, the one on the left, can you see the weights? They got weights there. They get them to do some exercise, weight-bearing exercises. The one on the left, the intellectual type of guy, the guy that looks actually even younger, doesn't he? He actually looks younger. That one still does his routine exercise. The one on your right, he cannot be bothered. When they do all the tests with the cars and things like that, like cognitive tests and intellectual tests, the one on your left is still very active, very sharp. The one on your right, it shows signs of losing it. He just doesn't remember things as he used to. It's not as quick as he used to. He's showing signs that in our world, in our human race, we'll say Alzheimer's disease or dementia, right? Or forgetfulness. Isn't that interesting? That the one that actually increased the body fat percentage also showed signs of mental degeneration. The hormone that we will be presenting in this presentation has actually been studied for the prevention of Alzheimer's disease, because it's a hormone that will transpass the brain barrier and do a cleanup around your brain of debris, which actually will stimulate your brain function. Of course, there's actually exercises that help with that. I'll show you one exercise, okay? You put your hands like that. You just put your hands like that. Now, with your right hand, you do a circle. Okay, with your left hand, you do a triangle. Just a triangle. Okay, that actually means that your right side of your brain is communicating with your left side of the brain. We're talking with one side to the other. You know, when you go home, you know, you just look at the mirror and you start doing. And when you master one hand, you do it opposite. You get a triangle here and a circle with the other one, okay? Those are actually exercises to stimulate, because normally as human beings, we grow all with a very clever hand, two dumb feet, and one good-for-nothing left hand in most cases, okay? That actually is for brain function. That's a very good exercise for brain function. Now, the only thing that they actually did, the protocol was exactly the same with these two monkeys, except one of the monkeys was stimulating a particular hormone that you and I also have, while the other monkey was not, okay? Now, as I said, I don't know if those monkeys actually lived or are still alive, but I know that many of the same exercises or dietary protocols have been utilized with this type of animals, with mice. These type of mice, they are actually genetically programmed mice, if we can call them that way, because we know how long they're going to live. They actually have a gene there that is like a timer. And when 27 days have passed, boom, they died. It's like this program to the time they're going to live, boom, and they died. They've just been programmed for that. They're all the same, they're all white, they all live 27 days, boom, and they died. Okay? So they wanted to see if there's anything that will somehow influence their longevity. They already know without doing anything, doing exactly the same thing that they always done. They know that they will 27 days, they will die. 26 and a half, 27 and a half, 28, but roughly around that time they will die. Okay? So they actually got the one on the left died earlier than the 27 days. Isn't that interesting? We can actually do things that will shorten our lives and we will die sooner than what we meant to. Okay? Now, imagine, I need to say this because I need to put everything in context. Imagine you are born with great genetics. I always say the best way to be healthy is to choose your parents. Just choose your parents, good healthy parents, and you have a good start with that. Okay? So let's say that your parents are very, very healthy. All around your family, all the grandparents and great uncles, etc., they all lived around the 95 to 100. 102, your grandmother is 103. You have great genes from both sides of the family. You have a great enzymic pool and bottle, and you are looking after yourself and so on. Do you have a chance to get close to the 100? Yes or not? Yes. Well, you still need to make sure that the bus doesn't hit you. Right? You still need to make sure that that operator there that is dropping the hammer from the building side and you're walking underneath is not going to hit you. The truth is that you are living every day out of a miracle. Okay? And though it is true that we're looking after our health to gain an extra Christmas so we can enjoy that with the family, though all that is true, the reality is that even with the best genetics, you still need to miss the bus that is heading towards you. Okay? So I needed to say that just to put things in context. Okay? Health and diet and in this case weight needs to be in context. There's something way beyond what we can do. Okay? Now, which one do you think is overweight? The left. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure that everybody is wearing their glasses here. Okay, the one on the left. The one on the left died earlier than the 27 days. When they are programmed to actually die within 27 days, actually died earlier. Surprise, surprise. The other one lived much longer, 1/3 longer. So 10 to 13 days more. Now you think 13 days. Well, in a lifespan of 27 days, that's a huge improvement. They repeat the experiment, same. They repeat the experiment, the same, and the same, and the same, and the same, and the same. This is actually the only pill that is proven by lab studies for longevity. The only pill. Every other pill that you buy on eBay or internet or whatever, when it says lab studies show, well, tell them to show you the lab studies, because I can actually buy a lab study. I can make a lab study between two people and just claim that I had a lab study. It's fraud. It has a lot of non-scientific approaches to it, but I've done a lab study. So just be careful with lab studies. But this is definitely done. So the benefits of this is the following. Reduces blood pressure. Why? As we said in the previous lecture, If you dismantle 64 kilometers of blood vessels because you're losing body fat, the heart doesn't need to push your blood further, that extra. So it's going to improve your blood pressure, it's going to improve your blood lipids, and it's going to improve your inflammation. Now, I'm going back to that image of the mice again. Which one of the two is inflamed? Now, we say it's overweight, but overweight also is inflammation. It carries inflammation with it. Okay? So when a person is overweight, he suffers from inflammation. So a person comes to see me for prostate enlargement, hyperplasia, and I give them something to reduce the inflammation, and they said to me, but I don't have inflammation, I have a prostate that is enlarged. What do you call that? It's inflamed. Okay? So you put your finger there, you get a hammer, you smash your thumb. Do you say, my thumb is enlarged? No, it's inflamed. Okay? So inflammation is happening when you are carrying extra weight. So it reduces the inflammation. At the same time, increases fat burning. Oh, that's what we want. We want that. Increases fat burning. The growth hormone, human growth hormone, increases. And also the metabolic rate. So what does that mean? It means the following, that it's going to come a point in which you were burning X amount of calories when you were sitting down, but now that when your metabolism goes faster, you're still going to be sitting down and you're going to be burning more. Now, human growth hormone is very interesting. When you turn 40, especially males, the human growth hormone starts going down, 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 down. When you are 16, 17, and 18, a teenager, a male teenager, your human growth hormone is through the roof. So human growth hormone equals youthfulness. High human growth hormone, youth. Low human growth hormone, I'm getting old. Can you see the equation here? So I'm getting old when my human growth hormone is getting low. I'm getting old. So what is my metabolism now saying when my human growth hormone is rising? I'm getting younger. I'm actually improving my health. I'm actually getting younger. And it is a privilege to be able, like for me, to have my son at 16 doing push-ups in one side of the room, and I'm doing push-ups in the other side of the room, and I've got my daughters, one counting for him and one counting for me, and trying to keep up with my 16-year-old son doing push-ups. It is a privilege. And I want to make sure that my human growth hormone, which is responsible to actually stimulate muscle growth, guess what? Low human growth hormone, that goes your muscle. Your muscle starts deteriorating. That's why you get a lot of people that are nice and fit until they are 40, and then they become floppy. Because the human growth hormone goes down, the muscle growth goes down, so we need to be able to reverse that. And this benefit of what we are going to start showing, increase the human growth hormone and the metabolic rate. Also improves appetite, blood sugar, and neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is literally new neurons. Neurons are actually the cells of the nervous system. Your brain is full of it. All your body have them. They're communicating messages to the brain, from the brain to nerves, etc. Okay? We used to think that once you are born with X amount of neurons, and once those neurons are gone, they're gone forever. Now, that's true. Those ones are gone forever. But now we know that there is a neurogenesis happening, or potentially can happen. In other words, new neurons. One of the things that happens with Alzheimer's disease is actually you lose your neuron count. How do you know that? It was amazing how this was discovered. And it was discovered by DNA testing on brains of individuals that had received an organ transplant. Because it was a male there, and they were checking the DNA of that male brain. And there is a chromosome pair, the 23rd chromosome, that is the gender chromosome. As a male, that person should have XY. That says that he's a boy, he's a man. So they will test that, they will test the tissue there, and they will go XY, XY, XY. And all of a sudden, randomly, a neuron that will respond to this one, XX. That's a female gender. Then they'll check the liver that was transplanted. XX. The donor was a female. So, this gentleman had new neurons from the time of the transplant until he died. 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. That actually opened that is a very weird way of finding out. But it was a way of finding out that potentially we can actually work out new neurons. You don't need to be an old man with less and less neurons every day. So remember the exercise, okay? That's one of them, actually. All right. So that's neurogenesis. And one particular hormone helps with neurogenesis because it cleans, it removes debris from your brain and it stimulates the growth of new neurons. Now, how many here have heard of the hormone called glucagon? Raise your hand. Okay. How many here have not heard of that hormone before? Okay. Now, we have glucagon and we have insulin. I want you to pay attention to the name and you tell me if it is a male name or a female name. Insulin, is that a female name or a male name? Does it sound like would you call your daughter insulin? It's more a female, isn't it? In Spanish, it's more clear. We call it insulina. Insulina. Little cute insulina. All right? So it's a girl. All right? We're just going to pretend that it's a girl name, okay? So insulina and glucagon. Glucagon. What would you say? That's a male one, right? Okay. Now, glucagon comes from the alpha cells in the pancreas. And from the beta cells of the pancreas comes insulin. Okay? Now, in fact, glucagon is a primary hormone for your survival. Primary hormone for your survival. More even than insulin in certain situations. The reason why you will survive a concentration camp for a while without eating is because of glucagon. Because if you don't eat, insulin is not secreted. So glucagon will come and will save your life. But the way I'm going to explain it to you is going to be through a very awkward marriage. Why? Because it's going to be like a parable. You are going to get it, and then we're here at the Western University. You can actually come on Monday here, sit at a nutrition lecture or a human anatomy lecture when they start talking about the functions of glucagon and insulin. And you will remember this marriage parable that I'm just going to share with you, and you will be able to sit at a tertiary education lecture on glucagon just by remembering the parable. Okay? So, insulin we are going to, of this marriage, this is the female of this particular marriage. It's a very awkward marriage. It's the female version of it. Insulin is like one of those very, very bossy ladies, you know, the ones that are telling everyone what to do, what not to do, including their husband. You know those ones? None of you here, by the way, okay? But we all know that type, okay? That type that is outside. None of them are here. So that's insulin. She is, the husband secretly will call her the witch. That's the witch. Okay, now glucagon is the husband. And I tried to figure out a name in English for him. He's the type of husband that doesn't have a backbone. The one that when he goes to the bank with the wife, rather than actually go and talk to the teller, to the cashier there, he will just step backward and let the wife do the talking. How do you call those ones here? In Australia, we call them wimps. Wimp. Okay. So, we have insulin, we have the witch, and we have glucagon, we have the wimp. Okay, so we have the witch and the wimp. The witch can actually come up at any time. Your body is her house. She can come in and come out whenever she wants to. However, glucagon, the wimp, can only come out when the witch is not around. If the witch is around, he just retrieves. The moment he has a pick and the witch is not around, he can actually come up. All right? You following so far? Okay. Now, when you have glucose being consumed, the hormone that is going to be secreted is going to be insulin. Okay? So, insulin will actually go around the molecules of glucose, and your cells have what we call insulin receptors there, and they'll start beeping, beep, 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 and the insulin will start beeping here, beep, 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 and they hatch to each other between the receptor and the insulin. They'll hatch each other through a portal, through a door, and insulin will open and the glucose will get into the cell. In the cell, there's a furnace. That furnace is called the mitochondria, and that furnace will get the glucose. You put the glucose into the furnace and it'll give you energy. That's how you get energy from. Okay? When there is no glucose whatsoever, you've just been placed in a concentration camp and for 7 days you haven't eaten anything but water, how do you survive? How do you have even energy? Well, glucagon finds energy from your reservoirs. Which reservoirs? Fat. How did the fat get there? Remember the pizza 6 months ago? The one that is actually here between the fifth and the fourth rib, that one there? It gets that one, and it does a process in the liver, it helps with the process in the liver that transforms that fat back into glucose, and then it inserts it with ketone bodies. It actually inserts it through a different channel, not the insulin channel, but through the ketone bodies channel. Okay, we are going to call it, they are not called glucagon receptors, but we are going to call them glucagon receptors. They're actually ketone bodies receptors, okay? But we are going to call them, so you understand it, glucagon receptors. So rather than the insulin portal, it's going to enter into the cell through the glucagon portal, and that's how the energy is provided into the furnace, and you get energy, okay? So when the insulin is high, it's because there's glucose. When glucagon is high, it's because the glucose is being maintained out of your reservoirs. You following? Okay. Now, this is just an average day of an average individual in an average Western country. Okay? So get up in the morning, some orange juice, then we have bread with something, then we have a burger and soft drink, then we have a candy bar, and then we have a huge meal at night. Okay? That is average in many individuals. Okay? It might not be in your case, but in many individuals it's like this. Okay. The blue line, the blue curves there that you see on the screen, that's how the glucose is going. You have a line there, insulin line, baseline, and you actually have a glucose baseline that is a dotted line there with green right at the bottom. Can you see that? Now, can you actually see at any point in which your glucose, the blue, is actually going under that baseline glucose? Can you see it? In here is going under, in here is going under, in here is going under, and here is going way under. It's going under the baseline of glucose that you need to have in your blood, around 5. Okay, so if you are diabetic, you start going higher and higher and higher. 7, 14, 21, okay? So, in that case, it's going very, very low. Your glucose is going very, very low. You start shaking. I need to eat something. Why? Because your sugar level is going very, very low. Okay? Question. Why do you need to go and eat something? Since you actually have a lot of reservoirs here that can actually keep your sugar levels to the right level. Why? Glucagon can do that for you. Glucagon can go into your reservoirs, get your reservoirs, and actually transform it into glucose and keep your baseline perfect. Why? What is glucagon doing? Why can glucagon cannot come up? Why can't the wimp cannot come up? Because look where the witch is. The witch is nice and high. Look how high she is. She's ramping through. I am here. Now, the glucose comes up in the blue. Now the insulin in the dotted red line starts climbing up. It climbs up to that point that it pushes all the glucose into the cell. There is so much insulin that is forcing every glucose into the cell very rapidly. You get a high, a pick-me-up, we call it. Oh, now I can do something. And then you have a low. And it's amazing. I'm carrying fat here that got there originally because it's a storage of glucose in the form of fat. It's actually glucose in the form of fat accumulated here. And I'm actually with no energy whatsoever. Now, notice how keeps on climbing up, keeps on climbing up, keeps on climbing up, and at night, when I go to bed after the huge meal, look where is my sugar, and look where my insulin, the which is, right up there. Then I sleep through the night, and in the morning, we go back here in the morning, look where the dotted line is starting. Above the baseline of insulin. We call that insulin residue. There's still an insulin residue from the night before. And we start the same process again and again and again. And another 24 hours, and another 24 hours, and another 24 hours. Where's the wimp? Where is the wimp? The wimp does not show up. The wimp is the one that burns your fat. And it's not showing up. For 1 month, for a year, for 5 years, 10 years. Friends, this is what the people normally have. They actually have insulin residue all through it out. They cannot lose weight. Now, it gets even more tricky. Because, let's say I have diabetes. And I just eat something and my insulin is just secreted in an exaggerated way. And if it's not in an exaggerated way, I exaggerate it by the medication and it rises even further. So my glucose goes boom. And what do I have to do? Get a lolly. because I just gone and I had a hypoglycemic episode. I just get a lolly. So my insulin keeps on going higher, keeps on going higher, keeps on going higher. And then I go to see the doctor, and the doctor says, you need to really look seriously at this, okay? Because you need to, you are diabetic, you need to lose weight. In the meantime, you are going to be adding to your medication this insulin. You know what that is? It's called oxymoron from a hormonal point of view. You're sending two different messages. A mental message that person needs to lose weight, and a hormonal message that is saying that person is never going to lose weight. Never. Now, let's going to go back to that case of that couple that I mentioned to you in a previous lecture. He was the type of guy that didn't need to lose weight. She was the one that needed to lose 30 kilos. So they decided to go on a juice fast for 2 weeks. He lost 5 kilos. She lost none. 0. Okay, I'll tell you now how that worked from the hormonal point of view of the witch and the wimp. It's not the title of a children's story. Okay. He has a very efficient insulin metabolism. The metabolism of his insulin is very, very efficient. And that can actually be genetic and metabolic. Okay, genetic, for instance, every cell of the body has insulin receivers or receptors. Some people don't have as many, which means that person is going to need to secrete more insulin to get the glucose in. He actually has lots. With a little bit of insulin, they will find a door to get into the cell. So the glucose will rise from the morning juice, in his case, because he has such a good insulin metabolism, he will actually rise the insulin accordingly. So the insulin will match up with the glucose, and it will be entered into the cell, and the insulin will be metabolized there. The glucose will be metabolized, and that insulin has been used up. Another insulin molecule with the glucose molecule. Okay, everything is coming. Now, no glucose, no insulin. Who is going to come up now to maintain his sugar levels? Glucagon. In the case of that man, glucagon was up in 3 hours after the juice. He had such a great metabolism of insulin that in 3 hours after the juice, glucagon was up. He was burning fat 3 hours after taking that juice. He lost 5 kilos. Now, this is her now. That goes the glucose. In her case, either she has less receptors, or even the receptors, the antenna of those receptors has been burnt out. Some of them are not working efficiently. So what happens is this. That's the glucose that comes from the food. That's the insulin that comes appropriately. And they start matching each other, and now that insulin cannot find the entry. So the glucose is staying in the blood for too long. Sends a message to the brain saying, hold on a second, we cannot get rid of this sugar. We cannot get rid of this glucose. The blood sugar is very high. We cannot get rid of it. More insulin. So it secretes more insulin. And it works like little ants. Those insulins, what they do is they start surrendering all the cell until one of them finds the entry. And they go like little ants. I found the entry. Tell them. So they go until the one that has the glucose hears the news. Oh, the entry is over there. So he follows the trail like little ants and gets in, and that insulin gets metabolized or juiced up, and the glucose gets inside the cell. Now, what do you have? lots of insulin lingering around. So what is the significance of it with that insulin lingering around? The next juice comes at 12 o'clock. More insulin. The next one at 3, more insulin. The next one at 6, more insulin. The next one at 9, more insulin. In the morning, she still is loaded with insulin, no sugar, but loaded, no energy whatsoever. She has no energy because there's no sugar. The wimp is there saying, I want to help. I really want to help. But not while the witch is there. I'm not coming out. I know where to get it from. I know where the reservoirs are, but I'm no way I'm coming up there. Can you see that? Because insulin says store it, while glucagon says burn it. And while insulin is rampant and abundant all throughout, the metabolism is getting this signal. Whatever you got here, keep it. And whatever you're going to eat, the majority of it, keep it. So guess what? You're gaining weight. Gaining weight and more weight. So far, are you following? Yes. Yes? Okay. Now, can you actually see how in many individuals, it's not that they just haven't heard about glucagon in here. Glucagon hasn't been around their blood for years. Now, you're thinking, I have no idea what glucagon is. Your cells in your body are saying, glucagon, I haven't met that guy before. Hasn't been around. I don't know. Who is he? He's the husband of the witch. He said, that wimp? Never met him. Never met him. Okay. So, insulin stimulates fat formation. Okay? When the insulin is reduced, then fat burning happens. But it needs to actually work in those parameters. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to maintain healthy body weight. It's going to be, sooner or later, you are going to retain your weight and put on weight. Okay? This lady here, in 2010, just finished a marathon. In 2012, she's been releasing the wimp. Friends, doesn't she look younger in 2012? She looks younger in 2012. And she stopped running marathons because in future presentations on this seminar, we'll talk about how exercise can actually retain your fat and make you not lose weight or not allowing you to lose weight. Okay? In which way you can actually gain weight. So that's what she did. She followed the pattern. Now, I'm just going to give you an example, and then we will continue with these seminars in the next lecture. Okay? I'm just going to give you an example. In this case, we have person A and person B. Person A is consuming 2,500 calories a day. Person B is consuming how much? The same. The same. One is losing body fat. The other one is not. Which one is losing body fat? B. Okay, everybody says B, but you have no idea why. It just looks like B is somehow losing. Okay? Now, there are a number of things that we're going to be developing further with glucagon and other hormones. Okay? There's more women out there. You know, insulin is the witch. There is someone that is the cousin of the witch. We'll mention something about her later on. Man, it's all about women, isn't it? Women are at fault, isn't it? Even at the hormone level, isn't it? Okay. Naturally, if you don't eat a big meal at night, in most cases, and it does depend on the type of meal that you eat at night. It does depend on the type of meal that you eat at night. Because when you don't want to eat anything heavy, you just want to eat something quick, something healthy, something heavy. What do you eat? Fruit. Well, not if you want to lose weight. We'll tell you all about it in the following lectures, okay? But isn't that what we go to? As something light. You know, I just ate too much at lunch. I wanna make sure that I don't put on weight, so I'm just going to eat just a small fruit salad. Not if you wanna lose weight, okay? We'll get to that. But depending on what you eat in the last night will have an influence, but as an average, as a broad average, glucagon, the WIMP, will normally come out at the 13th hour of fasting. 13th hour of fasting. What does that mean? The person A has an eating window of 12 hours. So whatever that person eats or drinks, all throughout those 12 hours, you know, like lunch, breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, all is eaten within 12 hours. The other person, for instance, in this case, this is just an example, okay? We'll deal with a couple of examples later on in future lectures. The other person starts at 8 o'clock and finishes dinner at 4, so he has an eating window of 8 hours. So how does that is manifested in glucagon? Look at it. This is person A. That's 12 hours for eating window, which means that he has how many hours of fasting? 12 hours of fasting window. Glucagon appears naturally when? At the 13th hour of fasting. In most cases, and it does depend on what the amount of your dinner and what you eat of your dinner, okay? But in most cases, 12 hours. So is glucagon coming up there? No, it's not. Glucagon does not show up there. Look at the other example. This is actually a very reduced protocol. This we call the 8-16 protocol. The 8-16 protocol, we'll be talking about different other protocols, okay? We'll be talking about the 10-14 protocol and a few others, okay? So in this case, the eating window 8 to 4 is 8 hours. So let's say this individual has breakfast at 8, has lunch at 12, and has dinner, finishes at 4. And then he just does whatever, and he goes to bed. So from dinner to breakfast next morning, that person has passed how many hours? 16 hours. You know what that means, friends? That person at 5 o'clock in the morning is snoring and burning fat. I cannot give it to you easier than that. I'm telling you, go to sleep and get lean. Hey, isn't that simple? All right. We just crack the egg. Now, we are going to just wait for the next presentation until we now develop that egg into a nice omelette. Okay, we'll just give you more information as we follow along. I hope it's just getting your new neurons working, and the new information is becoming more and more exciting and appetizing. I'll see you in the next presentation. Thank you very much.